buckle up, lock in, and come with me on this journey. You can be powerful, my friend. A magnetic power. There's a quiet power. There's an overt power. There's a covert power. Totally blown open with my brains all over. We're already being slapped around. Hi, my friends. This is going to be a very big video. I'm going to do Pluto and Aquarius through the houses, and we're going to talk about Pluto moving through Aquarius through the houses in transit for the next 20 years and how this is going to deeply, intimately, and powerfully change your life. Now, if you are here studying astrology with me, you know a couple of things. One, I'm a straight shooter, I'm a straight talker, and I am going to share with you the good, the bad, and the very, very hard, the challenging parts. So where is life going to grow you? Where are you and how are you going to develop your superpowers for the next 20 years? We have just taken our very first breath of Pluto in Aquarius, so nobody is even good at this yet. Because we don't know a soul who has gone through this transit before. We don't know anybody living except, as I said in my other Pluto and Aquarius video, which I highly recommend you watch. If you have not watched that video, I talk about what does Pluto and Aquarius even mean. Only the immortal jellyfish were here the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, and will be here probably when Pluto goes into Aquarius again in more than 200 years. So this video is going to be kind of intense. I kind of want you to buckle up, lock in, and come with me on this journey. And this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm not going to gloss over and tell you, oh, third house, you have to find your voice. No. If you know me, you know that we do deep astrology here. So there's a couple of little things that I need to tell you about so you can make the most of this video. And if you like this video, and if you want more content like this, what I would like for you to do is let me know if you would like my next video to be Pluto in aspect to your planets. So for example, if you have a Pluto Sun aspect right now, Pluto transiting your Sun by square, by opposition, right? If you're a 0 degrees Leo, then you have Pluto opposing the Sun. So I do have a giant Pluto playlist that I really want you to dive in and spend hours with me learning about what Pluto means and how it affects you and what does it want to do, because it is the power planet in your chart. It brings the most powerful and uncomfortable transformation. It is the psychological wound. It is the psychological relationship that you have with yourself and that you have with others. For example, if you have a Pluto moon heavy aspect in your chart, your psychological relationship to your mom, not your logistical, not your emotional, and not your for real relationship with your mom, but your psychological relationship with your mom is very profound. I talk a lot about how Pluto represents our psychological wound, but when you start to master Pluto, what happens? And I don't even know if any of us as human beings can ever even truly master it. What starts to happen when you step into powerful transformation that occurs in all of us because we are human beings and we want to grow, you start finding your superpowers. And I want to help you, but I'm going to tell you what the hardships are going to be. And I want to tell you what the challenges are going to be. And I want to tell you about the gory bits. And then I want to talk to you about the blessings and the virtues and the power that you can find. So this is a real self-empowerment transit. If you can walk across hot coals first. So let's talk about it. And we're going to go in deep. Again, put in the comments below if you also want me to do Pluto in aspect to your planets. And I should say transiting Pluto in aspect to your planets. So we know that Pluto is in Aquarius. So the other recommendation that I want to make for you is go watch my entire Aquarius playlist. Yeah, I have probably, 10 videos. And you can just do Aquarius playlist, Soul Navigation, you'll find it. And just watch that whole playlist because you're going to need to become a little bit masterful inside understanding Aquarius energy for the next 20 years because it is going to slap you in the face. All of us collectively, we're already being slapped. We're already being slapped around. Can you feel it? Don't read the news if you don't want a good slap. Throw away your newspaper, your online news subscription. Yeah, just throw it all away. I'm just going to give you a tiny bit of a caveat here first. And the first thing that I want to tell you is that Pluto is going to create change in your life, whether you're ready or not, whether you like it or don't. You get absolutely zero choice in the matter. Pluto creates deep paradigm shifts, deep psychological changes. And you even can emerge as a completely different person where you need a rebirth or where your contract, where you signed up to have a rebirth. This is a new beginning. And this is also where the house in which it's transiting through shows you the subject matter, the arena, the terrain, the playground, the area in your life where over the next 20 years, there will be profound cataclysmic change to your life and where you will need to live courageously. And this is where you will need to find your courage, okay? So just remember that. And Pluto spends between 11 and 32 years in each sign, and this is going to be 20 years. So it is an entire generation. Basically, if you're, 0 to 10 years old, right? You're going to experience this energy amongst all your peers for the next 20 years during your formative years. It's really important. So if you have a child in your life, they're going to grow up in a Pluto and Aquarius world. And it's a very, very big deal. The world is rapidly changing. And I'll tell you, things in Aquarius. So if you are in Aquarius or if you have some planets in Aquarius, that part of you is the part of you that moves at supersonic lightning speed because there's nothing about Aquarius energy that is slow or thoughtful. And don't be mad at me for saying that. It's just, it doesn't require thought. It requires sort of an air of instinct and it impulsively reacts. And so change, it's going to feel like change is on, off, left, right, up, down, sideways. You're going to see that you can't keep up with the news. You can't keep up with the changes. You're going to feel outdated, especially if you're my age. You're going to feel outdated around technology and advancements very, very fast if you're not willing to try. So anybody over the age of 50, I want to say, be good at your, paper and pencil and still learn how to handwrite and do cursive. That's great. But the world is going to advance so fast. For example, I hate the self-checkout line. I hate having to fumble around. I go slow. I definitely know all my produce. I mean, I know what kohlrabi is. I know what celery root is. I know the difference between turmeric and ginger, but it slows me down to weigh them and fumble for my bags and all that. And my daughter goes through it and she goes, beep, 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 Mom, see, it was so easy. So I kind of force myself to go through that gosh darn self-checkout line when I don't want to, because I want to keep that part of myself where it's unnatural because I didn't grow up with any of that kind of technology. I want to keep myself relevant. So I really recommend you do hard things and you do things that make you a little bit uncomfortable, especially if they are technological advancements. One thing that's really true right now is that Pluto creates life-altering events. And on a personal level, this is life-altering in a way that can feel like something is being taken away from you, but it's being taken away from you in a way that requires you to develop greater personal power. And I don't know about you guys, but when I've listened to other astrologers talk about Pluto, I feel like they're talking in circles. A few articles that I read or a few videos that I saw were Pluto through the houses, and that's what compelled me to do this video. I felt like they were talking about Mars through the houses or Mercury through the houses. Well, Pluto is a different breed of cat altogether. Pluto is not Mars and Pluto is not Mercury. It can be very difficult to even recover from a very serious Pluto transit. So we're not talking about the aspects today, but you do need to take into consideration that if this is hitting your sun or your moon or your Venus or your Mars, or if it's in opposition or square to, it's going to show up even more intensely and even more personally in your life. But for today, we're just talking about the houses. And so you might need to watch a couple different Pluto videos and synthesize all the meanings together. Pluto asks us to get past the pain to see the lesson. You sometimes cannot see the lesson while you're in the pain. And sometimes you can never even see the lesson. I don't see the lesson in why I had to lose my precious Teddy. That was my dog who was my soulmate, and he's in a lot of my earlier videos. Like, why did I have to lose him in a blink of an eye? I don't know. I still don't know the answer to that. So it's been 1.5 years. In a way, it's even too sad to even want to find a lesson. The pain is still just way too great. So Pluto moves you to tears, or it gives you that stomach ache. But even just talking about that, it's like the tears well up behind my eyes. People who are like, yeah, bring Pluto on. I hope we all live through the Pluto transit of Pluto moving into Aquarius. I hope this Earth survives. I really mean that. We're going to see empires grow and become completely arrogant, and we're going to see empires completely crumble. And you can't have a Pluto experience without pain being brought to the surface. So anybody who's like, oh, this is when you get to the third house and Pluto in the third house, this is when you get to find your voice and, your voice is going to transform. Yes, that's true. But there's going to be a reason why it has to transform. And that reason why is probably very painful. Like someone's going to tell you to shut up, probably, because there's loss, there's devastation, there's hurt, there's pain, there's suffering, there's agony. Somebody's going to tell you no, and you're not going to like it. And so you're going to kind of find a way to stand up against it or refuse it. Someone's going to tell you, no, you can't sit here. No, you're not allowed in here. No, you're not allowed to be on this bus. No, we're not taking you there. Oh, you're on the no-fly list. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not just, transformation around the voice. No, there's a reason why. In some instances, a Pluto experience is a terrifying experience. It's absolutely terrifying. So when Pluto transited over my Venus, that's when I lost my father. So Pluto can be great loss. I do think I know the lesson now. Oh gosh, but that's 22 years later. So I want to tell you something. You are not probably going to understand your Pluto lesson quickly because it is generational and it is the slowest moving planet. And because it's the slowest moving planet, it reveals itself slowly, very, very slowly, destroys the coal to find the diamond on the inside. To cherish life, you have to know death. Pluto, or death, makes us wake up. So this is where and kind of how you're being asked to wake up. So let's go through the houses. First, what you need to do is go find where you have 0, 1, 2, 3 degrees Aquarius, because that's where it is right now. And you will also notice that your Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius, there's 30 degrees of Aquarius in your chart. And you might see that it straddles 2 houses, especially if you're not using a whole sign house system. I use Placidus. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. If I didn't tell you, and if you don't already know, my name is Meredith at teamsoulnavigation.com. You can find me there for a reading. What I want to tell you is look and see what houses. Some people will have it in 1, 2, or 3 houses. But most people who use Porphyry, Placidus, or the Koch house system will have it in 2 houses. And if you're using whole signs, you'll only have it in 1 house. So listen to the respective houses and also know that Pluto transits very, very slowly. So this video is going to stay relevant for the next 20 years until, I believe, 2043. You might have had it in the first house, and then in 10 years, it transits into the second house. So listen to both the first and the second. But right now it's at that 0, 1 degree. Wherever you have 0, 1, or 2 degrees, that is the house that you should be looking at right now while you're watching this video. And this video is taking place on December 11th, 2024. So look and see where Pluto in Aquarius is at the time that you are watching this and see which house it falls in your own chart. And I hope you guys are all working with your gorgeous natal chart. And you can all purchase one at my store. It's a great way to support the channel and support the work that we do here. Let's get into it. One of the things I want to say to you is I'm going to talk to you about this in very practical terms. I also highly recommend that you listen to this whole video, not just where it falls in your house, but where it falls what house it falls in for your child, your husband, your partner, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your lover, your cousin, your best friend, because their life is probably going to affect your life and yours will probably affect theirs. When Pluto is on the ascendant or anywhere in the first house, this is maybe the most powerful place that Pluto can possibly be in a chart. And when I say powerful, I want you to think about a demolition, right? I want you to think about kind of, Mars can be a wrecking ball, but Pluto can be a demolition of different sorts, but it's where there's a tear down and a rebuild. And so it is a complete regeneration of yourself. You are completely regenerating yourself. You are completely rebuilding, regrowing, and understanding the question that is, who am I? Who am I? Who was I and who am I? And you are getting so deeply in touch with the psychological story that grew your concept of self, and that is now growing your concept of self, and you're changing it. You're changing that story. This is a giant self-improvement kick with a deep exploration of the inner workings of what worked, what didn't work, what was fair, what was unfair. How am I powerful? How am I weak? Who held power over me? And also, you're going to have a deep relationship with understanding power. Now, how do you understand power? Yeah, by not having any. So there's going to be a dance. Where don't you have power? Where are you leaking power? And where are you wanting to grow more powerful? And also maybe redefining power. I used to think that power meant that you were a loud and crazy person. Wow, that's so powerful, a domineering soul, right? Until I realized like the horse whisperer, how power can be so gentle. There is a power to lure, right? There's a magnetic power. There's a quiet power. There's a stealth power. There's a diplomatic power. There's an overt power. There's a covert power. If you're in relationship with somebody, ask yourself if you hold the overt power or the covert power. You're going to explore your relationship with power, and you're going to find a paradigm shift, a reinvention of self, like the true you, getting to understand where you have been too much or too little, too powerful or too weak, right? And also where you've been too independent or too codependent. This is a time in your life where you really might embrace your own independence and getting independent, getting self-contained. My dad always told me when I went on a trip, Mary, if you're going to be a guest in someone's house, be self-contained. Bring your own car, bring your own money, bring your own creamer for your coffee. Like, don't expect anybody to have, 2% milk for you at the time, or today it would be oat milk. Don't expect anybody to have that for you. Come with your own provisions, at least a little bit. So this is that aspect, understanding the self in a whole new way. You could feel, let me just tell you, you could feel like you're kind of falling apart. You're kind of crumbling. Yeah, that's the old self. And I could tell you that there's probably going to be a new relationship to your physicality, your actual body, your skin. I'm having a new relationship with my skin, because I'm paying the price for having sat in the sun every single day in Phoenix, Arizona for 20 years, right? And now my skin is really, really suffering for it. It has been for the last 10 years. And that's a big deal. So your skin, your body, your health in a way, your physicality, your well-being, because the first house is your chi. This is a real rebirth in your sense of self, your sense of power, your sense of independence. Where have you been codependent? Where have you never really stood up for yourself? How are you going to stand up for yourself? What kind of power tool are you going to use, right? Now, I want to tell you that this can, on the shadow side, be sort of like trying to control every single thing around you. People with Pluto in the first house usually have some control issues. Either they had too little or too much, but when it transits there, all of a sudden you feel like, and I don't blame you, and I really do understand, like if you're not running the show, the captain of the ship, if you're not driving the boat, driving the car, if you're not the driver, the doer, the goer, the person who just is holding it all together, it's all going to fall apart. And there's going to be a little bit of a myth in that. So you might become a little too controlling, a little too domineering, a little too bossy, a little bit too dominant, taking powers away from others. So are you the benevolent boss or are you the tyrannical boss, right? And you also might take more offense to people who are controlling you or trying to control you. So this might be you trying to get away from that. But I want to tell you that this can put a strain on your relationships. Why? Because you have to realize that when Pluto's transiting the first house, it's opposing the seventh. And so this is the house of me and then us. And so this can create tension in your relationships. Like, she's just too bossy with me. I don't want to deal with her anymore. She gets drunk and crazy and then outrageous with me. And I'm not doing that. I'm cutting myself loose. So it's a little bit around learning how to put yourself and your own needs before others. This is also a time for deep self-mastery in the way of, I want to have a relationship with me that's powerful, and I want to build and grow the power that lives inside of me. I want to put myself forward into the world in a way that creates vibrancy, radiance, and strength and courage. I want to live courageously now, right? But I want you guys, when you're trying to figure out the meaning of the houses, I want you to say, why is that so? Why is that so? And that's because remember that Pluto sloughs things off, takes things away, metamorphoses, creates loss or death or destruction or devastation, and erodes things. That's also Neptune, but Pluto just steals things from you, right? In a way, wanting to live courageously implies that maybe you hadn't lived so courageously, and so it wants to take away your fearfulness, your reliance on others. And so now it takes courage to go at it alone. So Pluto can bring, especially in Aquarius, in the first house, it can bring a going at it alone. There's also a desire to advance. Remember that Aquarius energy wants to advance humanity, advance society, advance in technology. And so how can you yourself step into the advanced version of you and upgrade your body, upgrade, right, your independence, upgrade have a revolution and a revelation around your courageous, independent, authentic, bold, brazen you, right? And so this can be quite exhilarating and thrilling, but I will say it's probably also kind of scary. There's a new you that wants to be born, but it is the upgraded version of you. However, it might come through losing something to find it. So maybe you have to lose a partner that holds you back and clips your wings and keeps you small in order to step into the fullness of you. Now, that's not the only way that it can happen. In order to find your authenticity, and that bolder version of yourself that wants to advance yourself and maybe advance inside of society or move society forward, you have to let go of the smallness in some way, shape, or form. Another thing that I want to say about Pluto in the first in Aquarius by transit is you might also find that you're now willing to step out of consensus thinking or conformity. You might find that the rebel inside of you is louder, stronger, bigger, or more courageous, or more willing. For example, one example is that I have a few of my clients that are in arranged marriages, and they don't believe in divorce, and they feel stuck inside these arranged marriages. But after their parents are going to die, they're going to divorce and move on with the partner that they really love. I have more than one client in this scenario. That is very Pluto and Aquarius in the first house. It's like, I am not afraid to buck the system any longer and live inside of these cultural norms that no longer serve the truth in me. And I am willing now to live boldly and to be different and unique and step outside of Pluto in Capricorn, what society and what my family and what the hierarchical patriarch of the family expected of me. And now I am going to do it my way. And I think that's a song. And I'm willing to be different. I am willing to embrace that unique, quirky, different, rare, unique part of me. And I'm going to do it courageously and boldly. And I don't care. Pluto in Aquarius in the first house ultimately is going to learn that they have no F's to give. I don't care. And it's going to take time. Remember, this is a 20-year transit, so you still might care a little bit. I mean, we've only had our first breath in this sign, and you oftentimes don't even see the energy until it gets to the purest degree, which is 15, which will be in about 10 years. So this takes time to unravel. Now, remember what I told you. Why is that so? In order to do deeper astrology, you have to get to the why. And it's because you didn't live that way for so long. It's because you're tired of being suppressed, told what to do, oppressed, and repressed. You're tired of having followed the patriarchy and the rules of society and culture, whatever you were told to do, at the expense of losing self. Now it's like to the death of you. You want to fight for the authentic version of yourself, and that is self-mastery. Standing proud and firm, coming out of the closet, whatever closet you're in, it doesn't matter. Coming out and being brave and boldly you, and unapologetically so. And guess what? It can leave you lonely. Why lonely? Because you're no longer following the group. You're separating from the group. Now, here's the key. If you can learn how to do this with quiet power and with grace, with subtlety, the art of the dance, right? The art of the dance. You can be powerful, my friend. You can be so powerful. Do it gracefully. You're probably going to mess it up a couple of times because Pluto isn't elegant. It's not graceful. But Pluto is the deep psychological understanding of self and others, understanding human dynamics, understanding the psychological reasoning. Pluto is interviewing Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, and figuring out why they really did it. Now, am I going to get those confessions if I go in there like, yeah, you mofo, or tell me why you did it? Yeah, you're a loser. No, I'm not. I have to lure the confession. I have to outwit the person who I want the confession from, right? So what I'm saying is find this authenticity inside of you and break up from the communities and the tribes, the patriarchal or matriarchal, or whatever organization or group or consensus group you've been attached to that has suppressed you. If you have Pluto and Aquarius transiting the first house, leave in a way that I guess doesn't blow up your whole entire world. That would be my piece of advice. Now that's going to be a lot harder to do than it seems. But if you can do that, you might be able to have the best of both worlds, meaning you might be able to still have access to the group, especially if you love them, but not necessarily have to partake in the way in which they wish you to live. But if you can just find the mastery, use your power in different ways, and you'll see the one way that is most effective. I usually think it has tact, grace, diplomacy, and kindness in it. I can definitely break up with you and separate from you in a way that doesn't completely annihilate you. As a matter of fact, you may not even know that I left. That's my take on Pluto transiting the first house in Aquarius. And I can clearly see I'm not going to get through all 12 signs in this video. So let's move on to the second. Okay, so Pluto in the second house can be also quite deep. I was born with this as a natal position of my Pluto. So I've had a deep relationship with Pluto in the second house. But by transit, it's not permanent. It is, however, there for the next 20 years. So I want you to think about Pluto in the second house. And by the way, I do recommend that you listen to Pluto transiting all the houses, because you will understand more clearly what your house means when you understand what all the other houses meant. So for example, I want to tell you my very first exposure, this is a little story time, little break. My very first experience with astrology was actually quite early. It was my freshman year in high school. It was a long time ago. Nobody even was doing any astrology. And I just picked, hey, my sun sign to do an essay on. And so I went and looked myself up and I read all about my sign, and I was just like, wow, this is so fabulous. How is everybody not this? I mean, isn't everybody this? Everybody's got to be this. I really thought it was just so much fun, and I thought it described the world. And that's because I was still really young. By the way, I was a really, really young student because I started 1 year early. So I was always a year to a year and a half younger than everybody my age. And so I literally thought the whole world was like my sun sign. And then I started to read all the other signs and I was like, oh God, oh no, I'm nothing like that or that or that or that or that. So I really came to understand who I genuinely was by reading about all of the other placements. And when I read about the other placements, I really could see my uniqueness. So you won't understand yourself. If you're a Virgo, you're not going to understand yourself just by reading Virgo. You're going to understand who you are not when you understand Aquarius or Libra or Leo. Oh God, I'm not a Leo, I'm a Virgo, right? When you understand Gemini, you're going to understand more precisely what Virgo is. So I really do recommend, if you want to learn about yourself, also learn that which you are not. And that taught me so much about who I was when I read all the other signs. I did that with Eastern astrology too. So let's talk about the second house. I want to talk about the second house is what you value, and it is your resources. So if you're a highly resourceful person like me, like if you tell me no, I will figure out a way to get to a yes. And I'll figure out a way that will get to a yes that won't trample all over others. So this is your resourcefulness, but this is also what you value. And I want you to think about money and resources when you think about the second house. There's also property in this house. There's acreage, there's land, but this is the house that shows you your self-worth. And this is the house that shows you what you value. And this also shows you your relationship to your money and the things that you own, your possessions. And I want you to realize that this is the house of your resources and the resourcefulness inside of you. So those things in your life, your values, are going to be challenged. Ultimately, your self-worth will be challenged. And so I do want to tell you that when this transit hits the second house, oftentimes, but not always, there is a loss in self-esteem. There is a loss in resources. There is a loss in money. There is a regroup around how you earn a living wage, or your investments, or the money that you have invested in, and sometimes even inheritance, because this is the money access. Scorpio and Taurus are the money aspect inheritances, and also how you earn your money. But you are having sort of a regeneration, a transformation, a rebirth around what you value now. And when you change your values, you also will see that it coincides with your self-worth. So if you're valuing the wrong things or the wrong people, it's very likely that they can also erode or take away or diminish your self-worth. I'm going to tell you what you value now is not what you're going to value in 20 years. And get ready for the shifts. But why? Because something's going to force you into valuing different things. So if you never valued money and never had enough resources, now you might come to value money. And now you might see money as freedom, or money as power, or money as a way to take care of myself, or money creates independence or autonomy. I don't have to be dependent. You also might learn to value what you value changes. So you might move away from valuing material things and move moving into valuing metaphysical things, or vice versa. Before you only valued metaphysical things or the fairy tale land, but now you value earning a solid living, right? So for example, like my brother served 20 years in the military. He recently came to realize how important, like at the time, the job was very, very difficult, right? But now he just cherishes all that time that he served because he gets to take care of a family of 5 forever with health insurance. And I think his children get it until they're like 28. I don't know. It's something that's just phenomenal. And the value in that is just immeasurable, right? But while he was serving the time, yeah, he appreciated it, but he didn't understand maybe to the degree that it, that the impact would have on him, and what an enormous blessing it is today, especially health insurance, especially with all the controversy and the scams inside of health insurance today. It's god awful. That's a whole nother video, and we won't go into that. And I just use that as a genuine example. And then I remembered, the United Healthcare CEO. My doorbell just rang. Let's see if Christmas is here. Might be Santa. Oh my gosh, it was Santa Claus. Look at this. Is this not gorgeous? Oh, my friend Fletch came to give me this. It's so stinking sweet. Yeah, I came just to drop off flowers and say hello. We've got to talk a little bit about Aquarius and Pluto in the second house. So now you're going to step into maybe unconventional things that you value. And you might value the occult. You might value mystical, magical, energetic, right? It might shift from hardcore money and a paycheck into energy, into things that represent the Aquarius energy, which is out there, right? And you may become interested in things that are a little bit more out of the box, creative, innovative, unique, unlike anybody else in your group or circle. You might value equality or humanitarian issues or politics or fairness or egalitarian societies that don't represent the top down. So if you do earn money at a job or a corporation, or it's your own company, you might see that you value everybody having an equal voice. You might see that you value being a part of something like a union where all people are equally represented. Your political belief system could go under radical transformation right now. It's just because our politics represent our values, and what we value is going to shift now over the next 20 years. This is going to be really interesting. It's super important that whatever house you have Pluto in Aquarius transiting, that you kind of go look at your natal Saturn and Uranus, because Saturn and Uranus are the natural rulers of Aquarius, and they're kind of showing you a little bit more of the illuminated path that you're walking down. I'll tell you that you might value earning money for freedom like you never have before. You might value your freedom like you never have before. You might value a job that gives you more personal freedom like you never have before. Innovating a new stream of income, and not just creating, but innovating, like making it up. Like I'll tell you, you guys, 24 years ago, I literally made up what being an astrologer looked like. I really didn't have anybody who had a template that was telling me, this is step 1, this is step 2. I invented it. I made it up. I made up what it looked like. And I know right now it looks kind of common, but I'm telling you, it was not. And if you're a super supporter, you guys know my private stories. You know my personal stories. You know more of me than just the regular subscriber or viewer. I like sharing myself with my members. I just wanted you to see all of the behind the scenes videos that you get when you become a member. You will learn so much when you become a member. Come become a member. It's only $2.99. And it actually helps keep this channel alive. I just want to say thank you to my super supporters and super supporters. And by the way, are you guys coming to my Pisces Masterclass? For all of my members, I mean, my superstar super supporters, you get to come for free. Just buy a ticket so you can at least get the link. You have to buy a ticket. It's free for superstars and it's discounted. It's only $4 for $4.99 for superstars. And I think it's $19 for anybody else. But you have to claim a ticket in my shop at shopsoulnavigation.com in order to get the video for life. And if not, then you just will purchase the video in the shop at a later time. But that is like second weekend in January that I'm doing the masterclass in Pisces on Zoom. So don't miss it. And I was going to say to you that if you have Pluto in Aquarius, transiting your second house, that's kind of a chart signature also for an astrologer. Like making your money in a metaphysical way or in the metaphysics and making your money through understanding the psychological aspect of the human condition or humanity. But I'm going to tell you that Pluto is going to ask you to transform your relationship to money. And it's also simultaneously going to transform your relationship to what you value. And it's also going to transform your relationship to your self-esteem. And when you step into your true calling, when you step into your deeper truth around what you genuinely value, when you find your passion, the thing that you truly value, that's when you start investing in your self-worth. And maybe I should say it a little bit differently. It's not that that's when you start investing in your self-worth. That's when you start living out your authentic passions and even make money from them, and you're kind of not afraid to make money in a unique way. That's when your self-worth, your self-esteem gets a boon, right? Grows. I want to tell you that a great thing can happen after probably some losses and some heartaches and some hardships. But Pluto brings always a deep psychological awareness of self and others. And so one of the things that happens with this is Pluto is asking you to find your own deep inner internal security despite your outer circumstances. So it makes me think of maybe somebody who has been decimated, whose home has been decimated, whose family they have lost, maybe somebody in Palestine or Ukraine, the Middle East, or I don't know, anywhere, maybe even at home in the United States due to poverty or bankruptcy, but somebody who has lost their resources, the hurricane survivors, somebody who's lost the fires in California, somebody whose outer circumstances have been decimated, so they have to rely on rebuilding their sense of security and what makes them feel safe. This could even be like if you're in a relationship that provides you with no feeling of safety. So let's say you live with your parents and you've been abused. This could show up like finding your own inner drive to make your own money so you can escape living in this unsafe way. This is somebody who is, I guess, experiencing abuse and setting themselves up to escape it in a way that empowers them. And so this position with Pluto transiting the second house, especially in Aquarius, remember, Aquarius breaks you free from something that oppresses you. It creates a revelation and a revolution. And go back and watch, Pluto in the first house too, so you can understand more of what the Aquarian piece means for the second house. But more than any other place in the entire chart, this is where once you go through the hard parts of feeling like you've lost your resources, you've lost your self-esteem, you don't know what you value, and you start to reevaluate, you get into the psychological wounds and you repair them. This is a time to repair the second house wounds, if you will, the psychological aspect of the wounds. You can find the deepest self-empowerment with this transit. You can develop the greatest self-awareness and self-worth and self-acceptance with this position. But why? Well, because Pluto is do or die. And if you survive the transit, you've chosen to do. And so the great reward in doing your Plutonian work when it's transiting the second house is to rebuild what you value, stand in the uniqueness of those values, maybe make money from that which you truly, authentically value, upgrade your values, upgrade your values. You know, you're not going to pick just any partner that wants to be with you. You're going to be finicky and picky, and you're going to find somebody who is worthy of you. And when you find worthy partnerships, worthy jobs, worthy professions, worthy passions, your whole self-esteem levels up. And remember, Aquarius is the advanced mind, advanced thinking, and it transforms when it's in Pluto. And it transforms in sort of a radical way, in sort of a shocking way. Now, this might take place over 2 decades, but watch, it's so profound. Who you are today is not who you will be in 20 years' time. I want to tell you one last really important juicy fruit, golden nugget for you, for those who have Pluto in the second, but especially those who have transiting Pluto in Aquarius, transiting the second house. And that is this. Remember that Pluto is sort of a control freak and Aquarius is a fixed sign. So we're working a lot with those who want to control us and also what we want to control. And we get obsessively controlling. Wherever Pluto is, that's what we're obsessively trying to control. So transiting Pluto in Aquarius through the second house is going to teach you that you really cannot control the material world. You cannot control anybody else. You cannot control even the money that you earn. Life does not guarantee you that you're going to make the same amount of money tomorrow as you did today. You cannot control your company going bankrupt. You cannot control you not receiving the inheritance, right? You can't control it. So I want to shift your focus, help you remember that there is one thing that you can control that belongs in the second house. And that is that which you value. You can control what you value. You can control what you want to put effort and time and love and energy into. You can control your values. That's really profound, right? And you can control only that which is inside of you. You can't control anything outside of you. You can only control that which is inside of you, that which comes from you. Control that, right? Control what you value. Control your values. I hope that you find just the greatest good with this aspect. It's going to be rough. They all are. I lived with this one natally, and I'm mostly on the other side of the hard stuff. But there's probably more hard lessons in my future, I'm sure. Hopefully I'm more equipped to deal with them. Let's move on to the third house. You know, Pluto in the third house has real challenges in it, as every house. But I really like the payout and the blessings when you do the higher side of Pluto in the third. And again, it might take 10 years to really understand the lessons and to master it. But I want to tell you right now, what is going through the metamorphosis of complete change is your perspective. So what you used to think you saw, now you see it differently. You have a whole new way, or I should say, the way in which you communicate, the way in which you perceive truth or knowledge, the way in which you express yourself, the way in which you talk. Your whole voice is going to have a complete life-altering paradigm shift. And that is no small thing. Now, why is that? Maybe because somebody tries to take your voice away from you. Maybe because somebody did take your voice away from you. Maybe you got no vote. Maybe you were not listened to. But now it's like, I will be damned if I won't be heard. So now there's a microphone. But why is there a microphone now? Because you have something important to say. And maybe you have not yet said it. Or maybe for the first part of this transit, you have something important to say and people don't want to hear it until you understand, how do I say this in a way? How do I communicate now that is inspirational, impactful, empathetic, and powerful? Like sometimes I have found, especially with my dog and the little babies in my life, that when my voice is soft and sweet, it's more powerful than it's when it's mean and loud, right? And so you're starting to understand the power of the voice, the power of your mind, the power of critical thinking. Let me tell you, Aquarius can be the genius. The third house is the house of knowledge and learning. And so this really is the cultivation of the higher mind, of higher learning, and ultimately of the higher self, because without your thoughts, you are nothing. If you're sitting there and you have no thoughts, you're literally no thing at all, right? So your thoughts form beliefs. They form what you value. They form your self-expression. So I have chills. I just have absolute chills. I want to tell you that people who have Pluto in the third, and I know plenty of them, misappropriate, they misuse their voice in some way. They come across, they'll say the sky is blue. And when Pluto is in the third, they say the sky is blue. And you want to say, why are you so mad about it? Why are you so mad? I wasn't mad. I was just saying the sky is blue. No, you sounded really mad. That's Pluto in the third. You sound mad, cold, mean, angry. I don't know. All you people who have natal Pluto in the third, is your voice misunderstood in some way? To be colder than you intended, annihilating someone's feelings when you didn't even mean to, you were in a rush, just like flat, like not joyful. Now, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that it can come across that way. So this can happen when it transits too, where you can come across too powerful, too strong with your words. You can take people out just with your good morning. Good morning. What? Oh my God, why do you hate me? I don't hate you. No, you sound like you hate me. Why do you hate me? I said I didn't hate you. Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't feeling the love. Is that love? Does she love me? I don't know. Oh, don't be such a wuss, right? It's like, oh my God, you are so mean. I'm out of here. Pluto in the third can come across so mean. When it's transiting in Aquarius, Aquarius is cool, aloof, and detached. I'm telling you right now, I am being your BFF right now. Know this about yourself. Take note, because you're probably moving way faster than what's healthy or what's normal. And you're probably on the advanced track of thinking, doing, seeing, talking, being, listening. You're probably doing it all like, whoa. The third house is where you multitask and how you multitask. And now we have Pluto there and Aquarius. So this can be destructive. People can feel like you're not really present. So like I'll just give you another story time. My daughter told me this year, she's 18 and she doesn't have a job right now because she's in college. Mom, I'm not really going to be able to give presents this year. So if you want to get me a present, great, but I can't really give presents in return. I feel kind of bad about it. And I was like, you know what the real present is? Being present. Just be present. Be really, really present. Just show up and care. Like nobody even wants more than that. At least not in my house. That's all we want. Like, hey, could I walk the dog? Hey, could I fold the sheets? Hey, could I help you do that? Hey, could I put the star on the tree? Hey, could I help you decorate? Hey, just be present. You're the present if you have presence. So slow it way down, slow it way, way down. I want to tell you, you also are going to have a paradigm shift in your thinking. I told this other story where I went to Barcelona, Spain, not last year, but the year before. And it was the first time that I taught my workshop there. It was unbelievable. Oh my God. And by the way, you guys, you can buy my workshops, all of them, and learn deeper astrology in my shop at shopsoulnavigation.com. And go learn with me in those all-day workshops. We've edited them, so they're a little bit shorter, but they are so deep and so profound, and I think you'll love them. But I had a real paradigm shift, and that was where I went there thinking I was going to teach an astrology workshop for 3 days. And really, I went there to learn a whole new way about life and to be a conduit for the deepest transformation a soul can even experience. Like I experienced transformation of my students' souls at the deepest level. I was just absolutely mesmerized. I was forever changed. I thought I was going there to teach. Okay. So this is how the third house, this is how Pluto and Aquarius in the third house can work. You think you're going there to learn math, but you went there and you found your soul. Okay. It's a paradigm shift and you can never be the same again. It's like knowing what you don't know now forever changes your perspective. Learning alternative perspectives that transform you forever. Do you realize how profound this is? Because when you get the psychology to download in a way that gives you breakthroughs, you're liberated. So I saw this truth in a person. It was about a week ago. We were sitting around the dining room table and I literally saw the truth. And it was a good truth to see, but it was sad too, because I saw the truthful reasons and motivations around why she makes the decisions that she does. And you know what happened? I could no longer be mad at her. I felt like she was really shortchanging herself, sabotaging herself. And then I saw, she's choosing those things because she believes X, Y, and Z. And it made me forgive her around choosing those things. She was a guest that came over to our house. I saw her for the first time in her truth about herself, and her truth was so small, was tiny, when I saw her and knew her as so big. And it hurt so bad, but I surrendered. I just surrendered. I realized, wow. I can't try to change this. I'm just going to accept where she's at right now. And without, telling you the whole story, I hope you understand the profundity of it. That's kind of what this Pluto in the third house in Aquarius by transit will give you. It will give you this detached vision to understand all perspectives, to see deeply, psychologically, into other people's genuine motives and reasons. It will allow you to forgive people for their stupidity and their ignorance. And it's going to hurt because their stupidity and their ignorance could even hurt you. But it's going to allow you so much more empathy for others because you're going to be able to understand why people think and communicate the way they do. Your whole perception is going to be life-altering right now. This is so profound. One of the things I want to say is that remember that Aquarius is advanced thinking and it even can be genius. What you need to learn is to not speak all your truths and speak all your genius. Nobody wants to sit around and listen to the genius all night, right? Like I didn't even tell the guest in my house that I was having a mind-blowing, mind-expanding, like ayahuasca moment with her. No, I was just pretending that nothing was happening at all. Nothing. What did I change my facial expression? No, I didn't. Poker face. I am not having a mind expanding moment right now. My mind is not just totally blown open with my brains all over the place. I kept that all under wraps while I continued to make grilled cheese sandwiches. I think it was actually tacos. I can't remember, but it was awesome. I want to tell you that this is a time when your whole ability to think is going to rearrange. Critical thinking is going to start to happen. Now, have you ever answer me this question. Answer me this. Have you ever met a person who can do almost no critical thinking? And what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is understanding the cause and the effect of something. So if I do this, then this will happen. Have you ever met a person who can only figure out what to do and they don't understand what the effect of doing this will have on themselves or anyone else? It's mind-boggling. When you're a great critical thinker and you hang out with people who don't have that skill set, you're just like, oh my God, how are you going to live for the next half an hour without me doing the critical thinking for you? So this is advancing your critical thinking. So now it's not just cause and effect, like 1 + 1 is 2. No, it's like doing full-blown calculus. And what comes after calculus? Trigonometry. Full-blown trigonometry and physics, right? And knowing how it's going to affect around the corner, through the back alley, down the street, to the left, then the right, then, the next world away. And it's understanding critical thinking at this gargantuan level. Like your mind is just going to completely blow. However, There are painful parts because you're probably going to have a hard time communicating in some ways. And that's why you're going to learn how to communicate more effectively, more inspirationally. Like, how do you be the smartest person in the room and not be a gargantuan asshole? Conceited, narcissistic ass. How do you have people still like you and be the complete know-it-all at the same time? That can be really alienating. I don't know if you have any of those people in your life that are the smartest person in the room. I certainly do. And it's not me, and I'm no dummy, and I can barely get through half my coffee, before I have to excuse myself. Now, let me tell you, your mind is going to alter. Wow, that sounds fun, and we've been having a good time with it. It also can be hard. For example, I think I shared with most of you that my dad had a very bad fall, and he's now really working on that traumatic brain injury. And so I do want you to be careful with your mind. You can be more forgetful if this is happening to somebody who's older in your life. They could slip into some senility or losing their mind or losing their faculties. And your mind could even have a mental breakdown or a mind melt. Your mind can melt. And so I want you to nurture yourself and play your cognitive fun, games that keep your mind with it. This is a time when you could advance your studies, your research, your mental capacity, but there can also be a tear down and a takeaway. Also, you can have a setback. For example, you could fail a class, fail a course, fail your exam, have to study again to take it all over again to make sure you want it. So remember, there are great losses with Pluto. And so there can be a loss around getting to use your voice in order to find your voice. There could be a loss around your voice is too bossy and powerful, so you lose connections and relationships or sales or success with your voice until you refine it to learn how to use it. This would be take a Toastmasters class or take Tony Robbins or learn how to communicate and converse in a way that doesn't alienate, isolate, or make other people feel put down, like having too powerful of a voice. There can be a lot of tension here with the way that you listen to other people or don't listen to other people, the way that you can, your relationship to knowledge is power, and then how do you use it? And knowledge is power, right? And don't we know a lot of knowledgeable people that like to abuse people with that power? Yeah. I mean, I could literally talk for an hour with this. I want to know if you're understanding what I'm putting down. Are you with me? I mean, am I speaking in a way that is pragmatic enough to where you're understanding it? You're very, very smart. I already know you're very smart because you have Aquarius in the third house. You're brilliant. But now you have a chance to use your brilliance in a way that can benefit humanity, advance society, inform, reform, regrow, reinvest, reignite humanity or yourself or your siblings. So there's a lot of tension here also, and there could be even loss around siblings, around your cousins. Sometimes I find cousins in this house too, cousins that are like siblings. There can be tension. Your cousin or your sibling could be massively disappointed in you, not want to be around you any longer, or vice versa. And so there's tension. So you're redesigning your relationships with your siblings or your cousins or your neighbors or your smaller community. And it can be painful. It can be really, really painful. The other thing I want to say is this can be your relationship with your car. So over the next 20 years, I know it sounds silly, but you might actually rethink what you want to drive. And while that sounds silly now, we might have choices around what kind of vehicle or what kind of transportation we want to partake in. I have a couple of friends that gave up having and owning cars, and they literally now walk everywhere. And the United States, it's not a walking community. That's a commitment. I mean, there's only a few cities, a few places that really are a walking city. That's a big deal if you don't drive and you rely on public transportation, unless you live in New York City or San Francisco, or downtown Chicago. I mean, even downtown Chicago, you need a car. probably to get out. But I'm just saying that's a big deal. So your relationship to your vehicle, your short distance travels, maybe you're going to electric bike it everywhere. I don't know. Maybe you're going to hybrid it. Maybe we're going to have one of those kinds of cars that, is a little helicopter that we have helio pads everywhere and we fly to the places. I don't know. I know that there's the self-driving Ubers now. So remember, we have no idea what we don't know yet. And in 20 years' time, this is going to be massive. And it might be really critically important that we don't drive gas cars anymore. I don't know. I'm not an advocate for that. I'm just putting that out there as an idea because this house does rule transportation for short distances. And what's your relationship to fuel or electricity or hybrid or, I don't know, corn oil powered vehicles? We'll see. I don't know what it's going to be. You're probably a person, just naturally, because you have Aquarius here, that is so smart that you want to do things to benefit the world in some way. And so your car or your transportation could play your relationship to it could play a big important part in that. I want to also tell you that you could be a person who now uses your voice for reform, and you might have a passion for a certain kind of, or a newfound passion for a certain kind of reform or advancement or invention to advance people or to advance communities or to advance yourself in some way. And so you might use your power. Like you may have never in your life thought about running for mayor of your town or something. And now all of a sudden you feel like I have something important to say and to give. You also might turn your challenges and your hardships into stories for others to glean from. I think of Maya Angelou. I don't know her chart at all, but I wonder what was happening with her third house because I know she's an Aries. That's all I know. But she really was a maverick around opening up around the tragic and horrible things that tried to snuff her out, quite frankly, hurt her and abuse her, tear her down. And she used her voice in a very inspiring and empowering way. I want to tell you there's a second piece to the voice that we don't talk about enough, and that is the power around listening. Have you ever noticed when you listen to a person who's elderly, you just listened and smiled and gave them a hug, and they say at the end, wow, this was one of the best conversations I've ever had or I've ever had in a long, long time. And you're thinking to yourself, I didn't really talk. I didn't really say much. The power of listening. The power of listening is one of the biggest gifts you could ever give a person, just listening. And that's this placement. So protect your ears, protect your voice, protect your mind, protect your siblings if you want to, or protect yourself from them and your car, your transportation. I want you to know that it's going to be tense because you're learning a new kind of power. It's not just roar, hear me roar, I am woman, hear me roar. No, that's not good enough anymore. Now I need to learn how to speak in a way that invites you to connect with me, to hear me. And my mom always told me this great quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. The teacher is only as good as the listening is. Meaning, I could be up here being just brilliant, but if I speak in a way that makes you not want to listen or makes you not listen, I'm not very good. I'm only good. I'm only an effective teacher. That's what I mean by good. If I can open up your listening. And that, my friends, is in delivery. When you transform that, you transform everything. And go and look at where Uranus and Saturn are in your chart, because that tells another piece of the story. And again, if you want help understanding your placements, you can buy the starter package, the advanced package. You could buy the Soul's Design package. My child's report is phenomenal. And you can also get this report called the 3-year forecast for 365 days, where I show you your transits and it will talk about this transit in my shop at Shop Soul Navigation. It's a great way just to support the channel and also learn more about your personal planetary placements. Don't forget, though, to study my Aquarius playlist so you can understand Aquarian energy and what's happening to us collectively through Aquarius energy hitting us all now. It is wonkadoo. And watch my Aquarius and Pluto video that I did prior to this. There's just so much to learn, and I'm just so happy that you're on this journey learning astrology with me.